All right, Assalamu alaikum and welcome to CyberSectober Day 7. We've had an extensive, series of talks, panels, masterclasses, and we've tried our best to make this, a very focused compendium of sessions on cybersecurity in Pakistan. Over the last few days, we've had the honor of hosting some of the top seasoned experts in the cybersecurity space, whether it's from the FSI industry, whether it's from the telecom industry. We also had the opportunity of hosting the C-suite. That's a viewpoint that not many of us hear about on security. So those are some of the sessions that we've covered. We also talked to a lot of startups and what they are doing in terms of cybersecurity. We also did one on women in cybersecurity because that's a growing space in Pakistan, and we're very encouraged to see national level initiatives or even global chapters that are coming into Pakistan. So it's been phenomenal for us in terms of gathering those insights, and we hope that at the end of this exercise and the work that results from it keeps the debate open and alive on how the overall industry can benefit by becoming leaders in defending the workspace, as well as our own digital footprint across the board. With COVID-19 and all the digital acceleration that we've seen in Pakistan in various industries, we just want to see how we can bring in this cybersecurity ecosystem and focus on a couple of areas. Of course, responding to cyber incidents, generating perhaps a playbook, asking regulators what they are doing, talking to unregulated industries on best practices that exist outside of their industries. And of course, the foundation for all of this remains supporting the development of a cyber workforce. So that's a very important area to us as well. I was candidly speaking to some of you before the session, and I said, that's been a complaint for a lot of industry folks, whether it comes to the vendor side or the buying side, that skill development or talent or that cyber workforce development remains a big concern across all industries now. We do have Pakistan's first national cybersecurity policy that's come out this year. And we hope that more and more work goes into, formally goes into developing this sector. So with this, I'd just like to quickly introduce our first guest and first session for today, which is a keynote by Mr. Gibran Jamshad. He has been a cybersecurity as well as public sector and education lead, working with Microsoft for the last many years. And he's put in a lot of effort, developing this space in the public sector as well as the private sector. Gibran Saab, thank you for joining us today. I'd like to quickly hand it over to you, talk about your experience, how you've seen the evolution, and of course, the work that you've put into developing the foundation of this industry also.
Thank you, Aksa. And first and foremost, thanks a lot for putting up this great panel together. I think this is probably the best time we're having this discussion, and it's a very important discussion around skills and the shortage of skills in cybersecurity. It's a global trend which we are witnessing today, and Pakistan is part of the same chain as well. I know we've got very seasoned panelists, so I would not take a lot of time in sharing some few of the points. But I just want to establish a few things that in this post-COVID world, or in this new metaverse, the new form of the internet, I know a lot is happening, and there's a lot of news back and forth over the web. And if people are not aware what a metaverse is, I think they should just go and search around that. I would encourage. With that, cyber crime is a burgeoning economy. And what we have seen in the last 1 year, very specifically, you just open up any of the media outlets and you will find that cybersecurity breaches, privacy incidents, ransomware attacks, we talk about zero-day exploits, nation-state actor-backed attacks, and all these kind of things. They are making headlines across the globe. Pakistan is also not an exception. I would not want to pick any specific names, but then what we understand from the cybersecurity world today is that there are only two set of organizations. Those who know that they have been compromised, and the others are who have been compromised, but they don't know yet. So no organization, no industry is an exception to it. And the frequency and the complexity of this cybersecurity footprint, the way digital footprint is increasing, it's also getting quite complex. And this is where a lot of organizations across the world they have taken some serious steps around that. And while at Microsoft, we have got a big security portfolio where you've seen a lot of innovation coming up since last few years. And today, cybersecurity is a significant business unit within the company. And there are a lot of products out there which are helping customers across the board to become more resilient, more compliant, to combat these bad actors and all these things. But at the end of the day, if the investment in the products and innovation is one side of the story. The other side is people in the market which are needed to implement this, which are needed to run these organizations, which are needed to run these programs around digital transformation and cybersecurity, who are needed to manage programs around governance, risk, and compliance within the organizations. And this is where we see a big shortage around skills. So when we talk about a market like Pakistan, we say, and we've got very senior colleagues from academia here, we say we are a knowledge-driven economy, and the biggest bet would be that we'll have a talent which will be industry ready. We'll have a talent which will contribute to the fourth industrial revolution, and we'll get a lot of jobs out there in the international market. We are a country which is, I think, third or fourth largest freelancing community across the world. And this is where we're betting big time on our talent. And then the talent has to be geared up for the industry skills as well. So the dilemma is that, honestly, I don't have these documented stats for Pakistan, which I can share with the wider audience. And I would love to hear if my colleagues have got the wider stats. But then if you pick up stats from one of the mature markets like US, you would find that there's a lot of work which is needed to be done. So for that matter, today, there are almost 500,000 jobs only in the US around cybersecurity, which are sitting open and they are required to be filled. And in fact of the matter is that the pool of cybersecurity professionals across the US is just more than 1 million people. So 500,000 jobs are sitting idle, but then you have got a pool of only 1 million people, which are already pretty much employable and they're in the market. So every 2 jobs which are filled in the US around cybersecurity today, the third job is sitting vacant. It's just that you're going for a cricket match and you have got 7 players in your team and you're not finding other 4 players to play. And you're playing that cricket match with those 7 folks out there. That's the situation. And this is where I know there have been some programs where we have started working on, not only in the US, but I would also, in the end, would mention one specific program in Pakistan. It's a start of the journey, and this is where I think a lot of guidance is also needed because we're not a big team in Pakistan. I've got just like 3 to 4 colleagues supporting the education vertical. It's a big vertical when we talk about the higher education sector. We're talking about the K-12 provincial governments. So we do some work out there, but then we've got partners on this webinar as well. We've got customers on this webinar as well. We've got industry, we've got academia. So we've got everybody together. You have pulled in really a great audience. When last night I saw the list of people, I was really inspired and I was eagerly waiting to meet each and every one of you. So I think a lot of guidance is needed. And just one thing very tangibly I would share is that one of the programs which is in the rollout with the government of in US with the government is Microsoft Learn for Educators. There are many programs, but this is one of the flagship programs. And then we also worked with our international corporate team this fiscal year when we started off. And we also launched this program in Pakistan. And then the good thing is that Anwar Shab, I can see he's on the call. With him, we started a drive around 10, 11 years ago, having an education transformation agreement in higher education. And skills development and capacity building was one area around that. And now we are also shaping up and we have launched the Microsoft Learn for Educators in Pakistan, and we are planning with AGC to roll it out in a phase to post to different universities. This is where what we have done is tangibly that we have sort of open sourced and we have made our curriculum available at no cost to the educators. So, and then that is also backed by certifications. So good things which we are doing. So for example, There are fundamental certifications around security, identity, governance, compliance. People can go and they can understand and they can gear themselves up and they can appear for the certification. Certification program is already there in Pakistan in partnership with Higher Education Commission, Government of Sindh and Government of Punjab for past many years. So they can go for certifications. So for that matter, very lastly, if you've got cloud solutions which are widely used in the industry, Office 365, Dynamics 365, and Azure, and there are security tracks around that. So entire content and trainings and everything is available. And then we have a framework approach where we plan to work with academia on those things. So this is something which we have started, and we would want to get support from each and every one of you in that. And secondly, I think very lastly, we need to have sort of a market assessment or some study which is needed to be done in Pakistan to really understand how does the market looks like in the context of cybersecurity. Just today, I've got numbers from the US market very handy. They exactly know, and Japan would know a lot about the market, that they would exactly know that, okay, in this particular state or this particular region, these are the jobs, this is the skill pool which is available, what we need to do, and they can do some tangible actions. So if you cannot measure it, you cannot control it. So first, I think we also need to measure things on the ground. This is it from my side. I'll go on mute and I'll listen to the great senior colleagues out there. Thank you.
Thank you very much for setting the tone. You picked up on a few points that we are looking forward to discussing today. And as you rightly said, what we've tried to do here with this panel discussion is to bring in, there have been a lot of conversations, but it's never a one man or one team's job. Actually, it's everyone who needs to be a part of. In the last few sessions also, we've had the policy makers as well as the implementers. Because we can have all the right paperwork and all the right research, but implementing it at an organizational level, at a personal level, at an industry level, takes a lot of work. With this, I would like to quickly move towards our intelligence insights panel today, where we will be discussing EdTackle, pathways to careers in cybersecurity. A few years ago, cybersecurity, even though it was, the industry was developing, we didn't see a lot of CISOs, we didn't see a lot of formal education opportunities for young students or people who are interested in getting formal degrees. That, of course, has changed with some of the universities and some people here who really paved the way in making that happen. Of course, that shortage remains as more and more, the cyber threat landscape increases. The shortage also remains there. But however, we're here to discuss this important topic today. With this, I'd like to quickly just thank our partners in bringing this event together, which includes Trend Micro, Comtel, and Titanium by Rapid Compute. And this entire series is also brought to you in collaboration with CISO Forum Pakistan. So we're hoping to develop a lot of insights with them. With this, I'll quickly do a round of intros and then hand it over to Faisal Saab. So we have here with us Mehzad Sahar. He's a seasoned CISO. He's been working in multiple fields, whether it's the telecom, it's industry, and the banking industry. And he's set out a lot of say industry-wide protocols on how a cybersecurity department should be set up in large organizations. So we'd love to hear from him. He's also been educating. I know that he's very fond of giving back in terms of knowledge sharing. So we're really excited to have him here. We also have Mr. Anwar Amjad. He's working with the Park Austrian Foundation, and he's been associated with HEC in the past as well. We have with us Dr. Zunaira Jalil from Air University. She's the head of department for cybersecurity. We also have Mr. Kaukab Zubairi from Garrison University, and I would like to say that he did this on a very short notice. So thank you very much. Unfortunately, we got connected really late, but I'm so glad that you could make it. Dr. Izhar Zaidi is the CTO at Daud UET in Karachi. We also have with us Head of Computer Sciences Department, Zulfikar Mehman from FAST University, and Gibran Ilyas. A special thank you to you because you're joining us from across the globe. He's sitting in the US, and the first thing I asked was, "What time is it?" And how are you awake? To join us. But thank you for pulling out the time and joining us here today. He is the current managing director at Mandiant FireEye, and he also works as a faculty member at Northwestern University. And I'd now like to quickly also introduce my moderator for today, Mr. Faisal Nadeem, who holds extensive experience in IT and telecom in private and public sector organizations and is currently leading the InfoSec department at Systems Limited. With this, Faisal Saab, I'll hand it over to you to take over. Thank you.
Thank you, Aksha, for the introduction. By the way, this apart from the introduction which Aksha gave to all of the participants, there's another thing to it. Other side which brings me very close to this session is that I've been affiliated with academia for the last 15, 17 years now as a part-time faculty member in different universities. So I have been teaching in Lahore and Islamabad for the last 17 years almost. So this topic is really close to my heart, and I would love to talk to the heads of universities who are present here and the professionals from the industry. So they're very interesting observations, my own observations, my own experience in the field that related to the shortage of skill in industry. For example, in last few years, I have tried to fill in some positions specific to skill sets which were required in information security. But I was unable to, after the rounds of recruitment cycles, we were unable to fill in those positions. And ultimately, what we had to do was that we brought in an internal resource, and then we moved him to that position, which is kind of an compromised resource. He's not a specialized, skilled person for that particular area. But what we were thinking that, okay, he's closely related, and we'll make him, learn as he goes along the way. So this is a kind of situation which I personally have been facing in for last few years. Unable to hire the right, rightly skilled person. Okay, so my question to let me start with Zulfikar Memon Saab from FAST. That what exactly the universities are doing right now to develop a right skill set which is required for the industry. So are there specific programs, some tracks leading towards cybersecurity and computer science and IT, or there's some collaborative projects, etc.? What exactly, if there are such initiatives, please, if you would like to share that with us.
Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, and to a very learned panel. Can you hear me?
Yeah, please.
I'm working as Director IT and in Dow University. So the institute is from a different organization. Actually, I've been working in the field of IT since 1999 and 2000, and I've worked mostly in Ministry of Defense and related fields. I've worked in Sofarco, I've worked in Ministry of Defense. They have a very comprehensive and written policies regarding the cyber security and other stuff. For example, in Ministry of Defense, normally there is a network, but that network is not connected to internet in any way. So they have a security of that kind. They have a network, but they don't have a connection with the internet. If you want to use an internet, you have to entirely switch to another network. So as far as Ministry of Defense, I have seen since 1999 and 2000 that they have a comprehensive policies and policies related to computing and cyber security, and they are working on. When I came to the civilian side, I've started working in the academia for the last. I'm here for the last 5 years. I've seen. I've worked there in different organizations. I've been attached to. The problem that I have seen is the comprehensive policy. It's a disaster management type of thing. When you are attacked, it's a disaster. So you should have a disaster policy that, for example, if something happens, then what will happen? Who will be contacted? Who will be leading? Who will be on the computer and solving it out? There is a lag. I've seen the lag in many of the organizations that don't have a comprehensive policy to work on. It's good that nowadays, after so many, uh, especially after the COVID, the people are looking at different stuff like data protection policy, Protection Act. We don't have a data protection act as such in our universities as well as organizations. In such a policy document, this is the basic thing that I can see. Are you getting my voice? Because someone
Yep.
says that I can't hear.
Although it's not that sharp, but we can still hear you.
Yeah. So the gap that I have seen in most of the organizations is the disaster management and the policy, especially in data protection and different things. And secondly, the gap I have seen is between the academia and the industry. Whenever I have seen a collaboration between an industry and the academia, it's just basically because of the equipment and things like that, not sharing the information. For example, if a bank is hacked or if an organization is hacked, we should have a complete document that contains how it happened. For example, it came through the firewall. It basically compromised the operating system. Then it come to the database, and then it took some information. So this should be an investigative type of document that basically tell us that actually what had happened. And these documents and these reports should come to the academia so that we can research on it and give a comprehensive solution for future for the organization or something like that. So that collaboration doesn't happen. So this is my first take of as far as cybersecurity is concerned. The second thing is that because of lack of information collaboration between the industry and the we don't have a real data that actually some things we get from US and something we get from the Europe, that how hacking happens, what are the tools that are used to counter this type of things, but not much information is there, not much research is there. We don't have internal policy on how we will handle all the problems of cybersecurity within our country. The most focus of our universities, as said by Gibran, that we are trying to make them learn it and export them to different countries. Exporting them to different countries is one thing, but we have to retain some of our talent inside. And we start projects as far as research is concerned and different things is concerned, so that we have our own tools, we have our own softwares or operating systems or firewalls or things like that. Secondly, the trend that I'm seeing is that all the cybersecurity is now moving towards artificial intelligence. So artificial intelligence is taking over that part of the cybersecurity that automatically, if some attack happens, that it takes that attack and it do the countermeasures. So the two of the fields, that is artificial intelligence and cybersecurity, are merging together. So if we have a comprehensive policy that this is how it's going to work in Pakistan, then I think we will be at par with the different, sorry, excuse me, with the different nations like Europe and America and other countries, we are at par with them. Until unless we have that comprehensive policy, I don't think we are only exporting our talent to the different countries, not utilizing them within Pakistan.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Izhar. Thank you for your views. I can see Zulfikar Memon now on the screen. So I will, as Dr. Izhar said, that there is a lack of collaboration that exists between academia and industry. So I would like Zulfikar to shed light on being, head of the top CS university. So I believe there must be some specific tracks which have been defined for the students they can opt out in specific areas of cybersecurity. So I would like Zulfikar Sahab to share his views on it.
Thank you, Faisal. I really appreciate it, and thank you so much, Aksa, and the whole team for inviting me. Yes, indeed, there is a huge gap between the academia and the industry. Once I heard, just last week, I heard from someone who was saying that and there is a phenomenon in the industry that basically academia is of no use. Basically, these are the words I heard just last week from someone. So this is where the gap and gap level is, right? So nobody is trusting on the academia, nobody is trusting on the actual production of the academia. Why? Because the academia has to follow certain rules and regulations from the accreditation bodies. But even though from those following those rules, we have the liberty to offer the latest courses in the elective category, because as part of accreditation process, we need to follow the exact curriculum given by the HEC and NCAC. But in the elective category, we try to offer many of the new courses. Like, for example, we offered the cybersecurity bachelor degree program just 2 years back. And this is our second batch that has been coming into existence right now. So we try to offer some courses that help them to gain momentum, help them to understand the need of this cybersecurity time. Let's say, for example, we try to offer the courses of secure software design and development. We know that the loophole exists because the designing of the existing software have never included the concept of security into. Because most of the design, they considered only the UI UX development, the database development, the server-side development, but they never considered the security aspect while designing the software at the very first stage. Like, for example, right now, even we are following the agile development, there are many new techniques that are developing, but even during the planning phase, the only aspect that is not being considered even for the future software is the security aspect. So we try to come up with a subjects like secure software design and development, and then the concept of reverse engineering in vulnerability assessment. So we are trying to inject the abilities of current student that will be graduated after 2 years. So we are trying to have them the ability and the knowledge to reverse engineer the code so that they know where it should be injected into, where should be the security code, security plugin injected into, so that the same code may be made more secure rather than developing it from scratch, right? So this is the game. But obviously, we know just last week we are hearing some things that the HEC trying to get the degree program because 4-year degree program is a lot, and the time period is a lot. So that's why they're trying to offer the associate degree program of 2 years. So this knowledge gap, this supply gap from the academia basically fills it up, right? So that every 2 years the new graduates come there. But the next issue is whether the industry will hire those 2-year degree program graduates holder on the same pay scale and on the same level of hiring process, right? So these are the issues. But from the academia side, we are trying to offer the courses like information assurance, like, for example, digital forensics, and like, for example, information security. So these are the courses that we are trying to offer right now to not only for the cybersecurity bachelor degree program holder, but to the CS degree program holders as well. because currently we know there is a huge gap available in the supply side from the academia in terms of cybersecurity professionals. So that's why we try to equip them with our CS graduate as well, and to come up with this sort of knowledge as well.
Great, lovely to hear. This is heartening to know that FAST is offering courses which are specific to specifically the elective courses, as you said, that they are being offered in information security field. So CS graduates will be having some specialization areas in cybersecurity field once they enter the market. That's very good to hear. So I would like to ask the same question to Dr. Zunaira, because I know that Air University is also doing a lot of programs to produce specialized graduates in cybersecurity. They have probably a separate wing, which Dr. Zunaira is probably heading right now. So, Dr. Zunaira, if you can put your...
everyone.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you, Doctor.
Thank you. First of all, thank you for taking this initiative and having all of us placed together to discuss this very important topic of developing a cybersecurity workforce. Yes, you are right that Air University started our BS cybersecurity program in 2018. This is our first program in Pakistan of cybersecurity. Then we started MS in system security, and last year we started MS in cybersecurity and PhD in cybersecurity domains. And Alhamdulillah, our BS cybersecurity graduates are going to enter the industry and will be prepared by June 2022. And we are trying our best to create a workforce, develop a workforce that will be suitable for industry. And we have developed a number of programs to train them. Now, as I have received some points which we are going to discuss today, is cyber security skills shortage. We already know that it is not only in Pakistan, but all over the world. And where we have option of freelancing and remote working, the cybersecurity workforce can not only work for Pakistan, but all over the world. And as we have, I was reading an article yesterday that this is the 5th year when the world is continuously facing a huge amount of cybersecurity skills shortage. And it's mentioned in a number of documents. Before like if we talk about 2015 or 2010, maybe we were not very much particular or careful or not paying attention to cybersecurity. But now, as we have already talked about, the cybersecurity policy of Pakistan is in place. And according to that policy now, and also a number of attacks from last year are also booming. So we need to be very careful about it. As far as the role of academia is concerned, no one can operate in silos. If we talk about government or industry or academia, all are linked together. But the problem is that we are not ready to align together, to work together. And for this, as you know, that in 2008, in US, they developed a framework for cybersecurity workforce development, which is called NICE. And according to that framework, they developed an integrated ecosystem in which all industry, government, and academia were linked together. And it was this the purpose of the framework was to highlight what are the actual needs of the country, what are the actual training requirements. It will be very beneficial for us if we also move towards that integrated ecosystem, not only for education, for training, and also for workforce development. Like there should be, we should come up with a concept of having veterans in cybersecurity. There are a number of people in not only in our government organizations, but in private organization, in military, who are already working in cybersecurity domain. So we should have a system where we link our students or our future workforce with those veterans, and they develop those in a particular way. If you talk about like about the knowledge and skills which we are imparting in our students, we are trying our best to incorporate education, like my colleague already mentioned that academia is bound to offer certain number of courses because of accreditation requirements. But at the same time, particularly in the domain of cybersecurity, and in general, IT, it is necessary for that as well. But in cybersecurity, where we are already far behind many other countries, it is very important that we fill this gap. We developed an integrated ecosystem for cyber workforce development for the future. Education, training needs, all these need to be identified. Industry can play a very important role. We already have a cybersecurity industry in Pakistan, and many government organizations are already. Their role can be, they should be, you can say that they should be linked with academia. They should tell us what are their requirements. Now, how they can assess their requirements if they don't have. If we'll have some framework at hand, then the industry can also analyze that what are their training requirements, what are their skill set they actually need. Most of the time, in many organizations, when we ask them that they need to have some cybersecurity policy and they need to have suppose they need to perform their information auditing done, or they should have a forensic department. So they don't know actually that what type of workforce they need, how they can assess themselves, that where do they stand. There is no cybersecurity maturity matrix which we have developed so far. There is no instrument we have developed to to evaluate an organization, to evaluate an individual, and to develop any particular domain. So I think we need to collectively work on having an integrated ecosystems by involving all stakeholders, and industry, academia, governments, all should be tightly linked together. They should be continuously telling us that this is the course which you need to have. Although, as I am here as an associate professor in cybersecurity, and because I'm faced or meet different cybersecurity students on daily basis. So when we are developing a course, we look at what are the latest trends in that course, what are the requirements which we need to have the latest technology in that course. But of course, since industry works at a very fast pace, but the foundation, the workforce they have comes from the academia. So they should be telling us, they should be meeting our students, they should come to the academia. So far I have seen from, because I'm in cybersecurity for, like you can say that full time for last 3 years, I'm seeing continuously, whenever I go to some industrial meetup, meet someone from industry, they always blame academia. As my colleague rightly said, that we often listen that academia is of no use. If you look at all over the world, like in developed countries, Mr. Gibran would second me as well, that in all over the world, whenever like industry is linked with academia, they offer scholarship to the students in academia. They tell us that these are my positions, like these are fully funded positions for MS students, and you should hire students for this project. You should engage them, and the workforce will be using that workforce in our organization, in our company or department. So here, when we receive our students, we have to offer them thesis topics. We offer them thesis topics according to our own capabilities, according to our own research domains. But if industry would sponsor those students, or at least will tell us that these are the positions, how this number of students we need after 2 years, because in Pakistan, I think cybersecurity industry is immature, that they are not yet sure that what are their future requirements after 3 years. So they cannot tell us that after 2-3 years, I need this many forensic experts, I need this many auditors. So when they themselves don't know, that they can only say this. But I think we need to come out of this shell, and we need to own academia, because academia, industry, government, all of us are in Pakistan, and we already know the status of Pakistan in cybersecurity. So we should face it, and we should work together. So this is my message for today.
Thank you, Dr. Zunaira. Very well highlighted that the effort which is required to bring academia and market together, that's not enough. So I'll take this thing to Gibran Elias. If I can refer to the case which is from Silicon Valley, which we all know that success of Silicon Valley is basically was dependent on academia, the universities, the IT market, and the venture capital. Let's keep the venture capital aside right now, because that is not the topic. at the moment. But Gibran, how do you see this situation? Can that be replicated in any way in Pakistan to improve the situation here in academia?
Sure. So I think I heard a lot of things about the gap. Let me address that first. So I think the industry, because they have job positions, right? They have recs, and they need to fill that, and they need people to be productive right away. They're looking mainly for like very polished candidates, and somebody who can just start right away, because training takes time, and a lot of the industry may not have time or a specialized program within the organizations to actually train them. So one thing that US had the exact same problem too, I would say 10 years ago. And as soon as I graduated, I did my master's from Northwestern as well. One thing that I realized was that whatever I was taught was not directly applicable to the job positions that I was applying to. So one thing that I proposed for a number of years before I got my way was I said, you only let the PhD doctors teach at Northwestern. Can you let me teach? I have about, I think by that time I only had 5 years in the industry, and I basically proposed to Northwestern University that I want to teach. And they laughed at me. Like, it was really, when I went in the room, they're like, yeah, that's really funny, but sorry, we're not going to be able to do that. The only people who teach here are the PhD. So year after year, I showed them the front pages of Wall Street Journal, New York Times, and other publications. And I said, look, there's a data breach here. I work in this industry. I feel that there's not enough workforce that can tackle the problem. So I think it took me I graduated in 2009, and then I first got to teach in 2015, I think. So it took me 5 or 6 years to convince them. And even then, I wasn't the main faculty. I was paired with a PhD professor, and I'm still an adjunct. They still won't give me like a full-time status. So this problem is here as well. But ultimately, what I felt the solution was, and I feel that the solution could work over there as well, is having practitioners come in academia and teach, one course a quarter or, one semester or even a year. I think what that does is I think Dr. Zunair was talking about this framework, right? So I think breaking this, there's no better way to break the silos, because, if we're going to hear comments like academia is a waste or industry is way out there, there's a really good opportunity to bridge those gaps. Because industry would see what are the challenges of academia, like Zulfikar Memon said, that, hey, they have to work with the HEC and I think with the NASC. So then they only have luxury within the elective courses. So how do you do that? And coming back to the industry, I think what industry needs to appreciate is that if the folks who are in schools and universities, if they don't have the right fundamentals, they will fall after one project. Because to have a long-lasting career in cybersecurity, the foundations, the fundamentals are so imperative. Otherwise, you're going to be, we're applicable to one, maybe 3 years, and then you'll phase out because you would have just learned that practical, like, okay, how to hack this framework or this technology. But when you have the fundamentals, when you have the basic knowledge of operating systems, when you have the basic knowledge of networking, when you have the basic knowledge of how databases work and how bits and bytes work, that is when you can conquer the world. But my solution to all this, or my proposed solution to all this, into Northwestern and now here, is that you need the fundamentals, right? But then some practitioners teaching in universities will also do a lot of good. And then the last thing I would want to mention is that industry all over, is not that daring to get diverse candidates. For example, I mean, I see when I live in the trenches. So let me kind of explain what I do in day-to-day life. I do digital forensics and cyber investigations. And you would imagine that by this time in 2021, there shouldn't be any data breaches in US. But I think if you look at the stats, you hear most breaches are in US and UK, right? So the gap that I see is that there's just unidimensional workforce. It's like a bunch of tech people trying to solve human problems. Does that make sense? Basically, for any to tackle any issues, you need like the C-suites. They come from different backgrounds, right? Leadership, finance, HR, marketing, right? But in security, what you would see is a very one kind of workforce, which is like heavy tech, and they're the ones who are promoted in leadership roles later on too. So I think the industry is not taking those risks to induct diverse backgrounds. Like, I think people are scared to teach tech. I feel like in my job, I think a lot of people may argue that digital forensics is a very, very technical job. You need to have 70% tech and maybe like 30% of soft skills. What I've seen in my 15 years of career, that I would actually take somebody with great soft skills, customer service skills, and I can teach them digital forensics. So that skill, I think I call secondary, the problem solving skill, the resourcefulness skill, the persistence, and all of that, project management. That to me is a greater skill, and I feel very confident of teaching my hires technology. So the last thing I would say is that if the industry starts trusting the people who don't have all that tech background from academia, but they are brilliant in strategizing, and they're brilliant in taking care of people's problem, I think that's big. One of the key things this year that I've been advocating is that when you want change in like organization, or when you want to implement security controls, there is this one key thing that a lot of us miss in industry as well, and that is the diplomacy. A lot of people say, "Oh yeah, we're going to do this," and Mizal is smiling here. So he's the CISO, so he knows how difficult it is to implement change. So if you don't have that diplomacy skill, you're not going to be able to, implement change in an organization of thousands of people. So all of that part is still ignored. So that is what I'm into with. That there's more to just tech. There's you need an all-rounded person in security jobs, because it is a change management too. So
okay, thank you.
I'd like to chime in here, and because Gibran, you talked about digital forensics. Kaukab Saab heads the digital forensics at Garrison University. We'd love to hear his viewpoint on how he's seen this, because some of the programs that he's led, were started back in 2004 and 2005. Obviously, he's been part of that evolution when we were seeing the industry grow. So Kaukab Saab, over to you.
We started Digital Forensic Research and Service Center at Lahore Garrison University in 2016. It was the first center of its kind in Pakistan. Having an experience in digital forensics since 2005 in Turkey and other 12 different countries, we initially decided that we divide cybersecurity. We realized the need of cybersecurity professionals in Pakistan, and we have decided to divide cybersecurity into 3 subdomains. There's a part of it which is basically securing the system. This is the fraud, the risk mitigation part. And then there is offensive security. That is also part of cybersecurity. And then when the incident occurs, the digital forensic teams comes in. we also realized that initially we cannot wait for 4 years to develop specialists in cybersecurity and digital forensics and offensive security. That's too long. 4 years is like 40 years in cybersecurity. So there is a need, and I agree with, I think, Gibran from Mandiant, that we need to have specialized certifications. And that's what we started in the beginning. We started giving specialized certifications in digital forensic and offensive security. We developed our we've developed our certification programs in digital forensics, cybersecurity, offensive security, and then in white collar crime investigation, because cyber crimes are, there's a very thin line between white collar crimes and cyber crimes, because cyber crimes are basically now white collar crimes. So we have started training investigators for digital forensics and cyber crimes. We started training offensive security professionals. We have trained almost now 700 students, and a few of them have certified with our certified white hat hacker course, and so on. And then once we established, we designed these certifications, we introduced our BS in digital forensics and cybersecurity in 2019. Now we have 3 groups in it, about 150 students who are working, and we designed, and we instead of being a part of computer science, we have made it a part of social sciences. The reason being, when you talk about offensive security, you need a flavor of social sciences, psychology, not only programming skills and using the tools. Even for cybersecurity, when you are against very professional and smart criminals, who are attacking your system, and they use social engineering to penetrate. They don't wait to break the firewalls. They don't wait to, that's what APT attacks are. So we are working on it. We are developing a team of students in our first degree program who will have an idea. They will learn about 6 programming languages, and they will have 4 or 5 digital forensic courses. They will have cybersecurity, information security, and so on. So that's our degree program, which is continuing. And then we have an MBA in economic crime and fraud investigation. So that's what we are doing. I agree that we need to come up with short-term specialized courses, and industry has to realize that degree. I have seen very smart hackers who are in Pakistan, and some of them have gained the international fame. And they were not brilliant students, for example, and some of them gained the fame before completion of undergraduate degrees. So we need to come up. The industry need to support such centers and recognize these bright individuals and support them in increasing their knowledge. So that's what we are doing at Garrison University, and I think we need a national policy where we can come up with specialized diplomas and certificates apart from the degree programs. Thank you.
Wonderful. That's very good to know, Kakub sir. There's a lot of good things are going on in Garrison University. My next question would be to Anwar Amjad Saab, who was previously in AGC as well. So, Anwar Saab, I would like to know that how can, I would like to have your suggestions that how these programs can be designed with better curriculum by taking input from the industry. Okay, Medad Saab, it's good to see you once again. I have a different question for you because you are a seasoned veteran in that industry. I would like to know that for all the students who have, let's say, graduated in the field of cybersecurity, would it be enough for them to get into the market right away, or you think that there should be some certifications to sharpen their skills to make them very useful right away in the industry? Or is there anything else which they need? For example, they might be given the projects from the industry before moving into the industry. So what exactly is required to make them productive right from the day one? Yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Perfect.
so you take industry as the customer of academia. Okay, and if we are the customer of academia and academia they have the products, then we as an employer, what are the expectation from these guys? Naturally, it is very natural to expect that these guys should be plug and play. So in that case, if they join me and I have a project, let me tell you, in order to get approved some resource in the industry, that itself is a challenge. Even though I'm a CISO, I'll have to go and fight with the HR department. I'll have to go and meet my board. I'll have to prove that what value this new resource is gonna add. No matter, it could be a new joiner, but each and every resource in the industry, actually it is being challenged and is being calibrated, and at the end we are all accountable and answerable at the end of the year to show the overall performance. So I will, with my experience, I will highly suggest the 4 years degree program. They should have a kind of professional certification in cybersecurity in parallel. So in parallel, the highly recognized cybersecurity certification programs, our academia, they should highly encourage, so that if the resource come in the market and we take a name of Microsoft, Cisco, SAP, so it should not be Chinese for them. So they should say, yes, in addition to my general knowledge, I can immediately add value, and then it will be a win-win situation. This is number one. And I can give you example. I even remember myself, once I graduated as an engineer, as a fresh graduate, to be honest, I suffered a lot myself. Someone told me, why not you should go for MCSE, Microsoft Certified System Engineer, in 1998. So I did that. And surprisingly, I was shocked. People, they were paying more weightage to my Microsoft Certified System Engineering certification, which I just finished in 3 months. And they were comparing this with my 4-year, engineering degree program. And the employer was very happy because then I was able to prove to go and add value on instant basis. I think this is the reality, whether we like or not. Employers, to some extent, all employer all over the world, to some extent, they are selfish. There is a business and they'll have to pay money to get something done, So there is no, free cup of tea. Yes, we should encourage the young talent, but the young talent should come with something which is, as I said earlier, like plug and play. Now take another example where I see a gap, and I will admit our mistake. We as the industry leaders, usually we go and visit universities during the boot camps, and we try to find what are the best of the best resources, and then we pick them up. But practically speaking, we should actually meet Dr. Zunaira, Mr. Kokab, Mr. Izhar, all these guys, and we should be in touch with them also and telling them what is the need of the time. And vice versa, they should also remain in touch with us, so that at the HEC level, first of all, the curriculum should remain very much up to date as per industry demand. And then HEC should dictate to universities that, yes, we respect your general curriculum, but however, industry right now, if it is cybersecurity, it is going in totally different dimension. As one of my friends said, 4 years in cybersecurity is like 40 years, So time is passing very, very fast. You never know whatever we are reading actually could be obsolete after 1 year. So with this type of challenges, I think degree with certification, and certification again, those certifications which are highly recognized, like they are global certification. I can give you example, CISSP. Correct me if I'm wrong. I went through one article, although I myself is not convinced, but in UK they said it is equivalent to Master of Computer Science, degree. So one certification in UK is being recognized equivalent to master degree, and I have high respect for master degrees. It's 2 years after graduation program, but that shows a totally different demand and supply issue. The market is looking for specializations. The market is not looking for horizontal knowledge. They are looking for vertical knowledge, very much vertical knowledge. And at the end, one of my colleagues, Mr. I think Kokop, he rightly mentioned, I love his statement, that in addition to technical knowledge, we really need, if they are going to join cybersecurity and they are going to take cybersecurity as a profession, the social science, subject should be also taught. This is very much important. So they should know if there is a cybersecurity breach, how to go and translate this very technical, terminology into business language, and they should be able to go and talk to their CEO and to the board, and then should actually give them some value, or if there is a risk in business language. Otherwise, it will remain just like kind of someone talking in Spanish and I just understand English, and there is no, coordination properly. And I see maybe academia can add value, like in addition to technical courses, some kind of management courses should be also taught. For me, if you ask, I will say if someone wants to become later on, of course, not in the beginning of his career, later on, if he wants to become a CISO, maybe the MBA should be considered as a mandatory requirement, because as far as he's going to know the business, then he can actually fight against all threats to secure the business. In the global world, I remember once I was in Telenor, they don't call it information security, they call it business security, because we are here at the end of the day to secure the business of the employee. So these type of things, where actually collaboration with universities, including not only technical knowledge, but also management skills, I think the time has come to go and maintain this. I have seen, maybe last minute from my side, I have seen a lot of PhD. I have high respect for PhD, but whenever mostly I ask, maybe it is my ignorance, but I found most of them, I found, especially in Pakistan, doing in encryption. But I will say there are a lot of things, actually, a lot of other domains where, we need to excel and produce. Why not our startup? They should start introducing new security products. This is very important. This is my wish. Academia, and we will actually collaborate as an industry. If academia give us people, with fresh mind, fresh graduate, we can sponsor their startup if they have $100 million worth of idea. So idea, yes, we can provide the seed investment, but the idea, you people are the incubation center of such brilliant environment. So give us to us. We will love to spend for the overall, betterment of our cybersecurity posture, especially in Pakistan. Thank you.
Thank you, Medad. Excellent points. Yeah, Dr. Izhar wants to say something.
Yeah, I've listened to the industry. I've been in industry for 15 years, and then I switched to academia. One thing that I've seen the gap is we don't go for our product, our own operating system, our own tools that
Sorry,
we can
so your
develop.
voice isn't very clear.
Okay.
Sorry for interrupting.
Are you getting it now?
Yeah, this is
better.
much better.
Yeah. Okay, so what we are lacking is our own industry, our own operating system, our own security tools. What we are doing right now is correct from the Behzad sir, that actually we are doing certification for Microsoft so that we can go for a Microsoft operating system and run their security tools, and go for a certification for any other product that the West is selling. I've been to one of the security conferences in 2001, and I remember his sentence, the teacher's sentence, that if you want to secure your network, then you need a back-to-back firewall. You don't rely on one Cisco or one any other group. So you have to have a back-to-back firewalls so that if one firewall is compromised, then the other one is there. So at that time, I was thinking, why can't we produce our own firewalls with our own operating systems for that, our own research for our own softwares for this type of stuff. So I think that the incubation centers are, and sometimes I see there's a very good uh, ideas by the students, but they are not covered in any aspect. No industry is looking to sponsor them to develop it into a product. It's very rare that something develops into a product. Otherwise, there are ideas in the incubation centers. I've seen their final year projects. Some of them are very, very nice, but they go without any sponsorship. So I think we have to, within Pakistan, what we are doing is, again, my first point was that we are trying to export our brilliant mind to other countries. We should develop our own industry in which we can develop our products and we can utilize them inside our country for the betterment of or for the betterment of our country. This is one of my points, and I think it's a debatable point, and I would require someone to elaborate more on it. Thank you very much.
If you allow me, I can answer on the behalf of industry. You see, this idea looks really, really fantastic, like having your own operating system, having your own ERP, having your own even mobile operating system. But at the end of the day, if it is a corporate network, we are a commercial organization, right? And we need actually some kind of stable environment. And where actually we are living, especially for cybersecurity perspective, we are living in an age where Jabran will confirm, where now we start saying the hunters are being hunted. The companies which were supposed to secure others, like company like FireEye, it was also hacked. Now, in this type of scenario where the professional and commercial companies are suffering, and at the end we are a commercial also great employer. So of course, naturally, they will love to go and sponsor the mature technology which can add value. However, I highly respect that organizations, they should put 10% of their budget for this type of R&D. And here I see a gap. I can give you example. If it is a medical degree, then the hospitals, they are supposed to sponsor them, and the doctors, they go through this 1 year or 2 years program after completing the degree, and then they are being declared as a doctor. Unfortunately, in case of, so that is in case of medical doctor. But in case of engineer or computer science graduate, unfortunately, there is no such sponsorship. There is no R&D, where HSE, maybe by force, they should ask commercial organization and even government institute to spare 10% of their technology budget to encourage this type of R&D till they become mature, so that we should encourage such innovative talent, and they can sharpen their hands using this extraordinary budget. Otherwise, it will remain just, I remember, like something like last year project of any graduation program, and that's it. And they are not being utilized practically for the industry. So the heavy collaboration is required for this purpose.
Okay, thank you, Mazhar.
I want to say something about a few points which I noticed during discussions. If you allow me, Professor Nadeem Saab.
Sorry to cut you, Dr. Naira. While answering your questions, I actually had another question for you, specifically for you. I can see a gender balance is out in this particular field. So I would like to know that are you doing anything related to this to bring the balance to a certain extent? Bringing female gender into the field? Because I have hardly seen very few female cybersecurity professionals in this field.
If we talk about educational setup, we have many female students in our undergraduate program as well as in graduate, and most of the students in PhD program are females. So, so this way we haven't yet designed any program specifically for females, but there are a lot of females who are already here in cybersecurity. There is a Women in Cybersecurity forum as well, where all females are working together. And I'm also part of one of the groups of female cybersecurity professionals of Pakistan. So we are doing it. I noticed a few points which I just want to mention. It is a very good suggestion given by Samezad that we should have 10 HEC or government should ask industry to dedicate their 10% budget, whatever they are earning. They should dedicate 10% of it for R&D activities in academia. The first thing which I want to mention is that industry always say that whenever we make an advertisement for post and we have to hire, we do a lot of interviews, and even then we do not come up with the right resource to do that task. So ultimately what happens, they hire a resource, then they train that resource for next 6 months or a year, and then after 1 year he or she becomes a useful resource for them. So why don't you do this when they are already in university or they are doing? I feel there is a huge gap in industry and academia because industry is not involved in curriculum development. How often you interact with HEC or ask HEC to involve yourself in curriculum development, particularly in cybersecurity. And in cybersecurity, you cannot afford a fresh person or fresh student to join your company and start handling your security related projects. It is it can be very risky as well. There is no margin of mistakes unless you involve in less, like you can say, less classified tasks or so. So one thing, how often industries seek involvement in curriculum development, and another thing, how often or how much ownership you show for your future workforce. Do you own your future workforce? How often you interact with your future workforce? In our students, in our university, we have been asking industry experts throughout the 4-year degree program. Our first graduate is going to graduate next year. So we have arranged a number of talks for them for 1 day or so. Like if I count, so more than 10 talks have been arranged in this 3-year duration so far. But I think this should be industry who should be asking us that we want to interact with our future workforce instead of we going to the industry expert and ask us, just tell us something or tell our students something about this or this. So they should be more concerned about, and they should own their future workforce from the very beginning. Another thing, how many non-academic veterans, non-academia, when I say, I mean, I'm talking about people from industry and governments. So how many students or current cybersecurity students are you linked with? So are you training some, are you linked with your future works, or are you mentoring them? So you are doing your work in your circle, but you are not interacting with those students and guiding them. And of course, any university, I'm not talking about Air University only, in any university, when a student comes for a degree program, they are more concerned about their GPAs, about completing their courses, submitting their assignments, meeting their quizzes, giving their exams. They don't know where they are going to be after they complete their degree. Or we guide them in the last 2 semesters. In Air University, we have enhanced this duration. We assign them their final year projects in 6 semesters. So in 6th semester, they get an idea. Then 7th semester, they polish it. And in 8th semester, they defend what they have done. And so far, we have assigned them final year projects that are assigned from industry, or they are going to be useful in industry. And many of our students are already engaged with a number of organizations. But this should be a regular activity, and HEC should also make it mandatory for all disciplines, but particularly for cybersecurity disciplines, because there is no margin of committing mistakes in this domain. So, and also when you're talking about PhDs in Pakistan and cybersecurity or information security, no, I won't second this that all of the PhDs are doing in cryptography only, because PhD in computer science, many people have done PhDs. My PhD was also in computer science, but specialized areas was information security. there are a number of people who are working for malware detection and classification. And I'm also supervising many PhD students who are working in malware detection and classification, distributed denial of service attack detection, information security auditing. And also, I listened to your talk in the hackathon about ethics in cybersecurity. That is also very interesting topic. And as Kaukum Zubairi said, that this is a social science related discipline as well. Cyber psychology is also linked together. So right now we are offering PhD in cybersecurity, but in future we are looking forward to have more programs like in PhDs in digital forensics, PhD in cyber psychology, and a number of universities all over the world are already offering these programs. We are already far behind, and the education framework, which I have mentioned, that we need to have a detailed educational framework, which not only include a degree program or training program or certification programs or short courses, and there is a plethora of resources already available online if someone wants to learn. But in Pakistan, as per our needs, we need to have them. So these were a few points which I noticed and I wanted to comment about. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Zunaira. My last question, because we are running out of time now. It's a different question for the graduates who graduated in cybersecurity, BS cybersecurity, for example. And this question is to Gibran Ilyas. Many of them asked me that which specific field they should select. For example, there are many fields they mentioned, like penetration testing, ethical hacking, digital forensic analyst, security operations, reverse malware engineering, GRC, secure coding, IoTs, cloud. So many fields now which are specialized field in cybersecurity. So how should this be addressed? I mean, looking at it from the international perspective, so that they know that which market, where they are required more. For example, which skill set would make them more useful internationally, globally?
You're on mute.
Yeah. So I would say one of the things that, and I think this will sound a little odd because you might think that I'm trying to send people backwards then forward. But when I came into industry, I think this was some 15 years ago, it wasn't easy to just get a security job. So they would ask for like 5 years of experience in security, which was like a requirement in itself, because they're like, okay, if you're not going to give me 1 year of security job, how am I going to have 5 years of security? But the one thing that was there was people were either going into software development and then making their transition into cybersecurity, or they were coming into infrastructure security. Like, for example, they would manage Microsoft networks, Cisco networks, and then they would leap into cybersecurity in like 2 to 3 years. I feel that is missing now, and that I think hurts our industry a little, because people just go to specializations. The danger there is that, I think Azadza was saying that industry is looking for vertical, right? But that's short-lived. Like, for example, if there is a certain technology, right? Let's say FireEye technology that's hot right now, and people do a diploma or like a certification, and they get that skill. And then that product, because of the industry changing, there's no need of that product. Then they're done in like 3 years. Then they have to go look for something else that's neat. So my advice usually, when I'm, even teaching a course or when I'm speaking, I say, go learn the heck out of the fundamentals, right? Go into, infrastructure security, get your horizontals right, and then go vertical, then go deep. So if you ask me which one of the fields, I think I would say secure coding is good. Infrastructure security as a whole is good. Even when you come into digital forensics, obviously you learn tools, but you have to learn the fundamentals to actually be able to, do the blue team be it live or post-mortem analysis. So if there was a choice, I would 10 out of 10 times I would say go learn the fundamentals and go have a broader spectrum, and then go deep into any of one of those fields that you actually listed.
Wonderful. Brilliant answer, I believe. Majad sir, what do you say this, all the solutions are going towards cloud. So here, all the solutions which are, we see in the market now, they're all cloud-based now. So how, this will be my last question. So how important it would be to specialize in cloud security?
I think this is need of the time. Where gone are those days the company used to have bigger, size of team members. Many things they are being outsourced, and many things actually right now they are being put in the name of budget cutting or more efficiency or operational excellence. They are being put on cloud. So in that case, cloud bring you, of course, more effective and economical solution anyhow. But on other side, it has its own pros and cons, because then you are outsourcing your security, cyber security, to someone else who's not in front of you, it's not tangible, it's not physically available. So other part of the world actually is taking care of your cyber security. And here actually the need of specialization comes. My point where I was mentioning, like the guy still should go for specific like certification like Azure. They have their own certification program even for Azure security. So whatever actually right now it is in addition to the graduate basic knowledge or the general knowledge, these type of industry trends should be followed by all such new generation, and so that once they come, they not only join the physical team. I know some of the people, and you might be aware now there is a new role called virtual CISO.
Yeah.
So he's
exactly.
a virtual CISO, so he's not part of the physical organization, but he's managing their security, thousands kilometers away. The same thing if it is things are being published on cloud, and these guys actually even sitting at their home, they can provide these services. This is a brilliant actually way of offering services at the global level. The strategy is changed, especially for ladies. I used to tell them it's just a matter of having a laptop and your expertise, and without going outside your home, you can serve and make more money than a normal graduate who will first go and we go through logistic challenges. I'm sitting in Karachi, and you understand, how difficult it is, especially for ladies, including male also nowadays, to go and join office and going through these pollutions. So these type of expertise, we're sitting at home, things available on cloud, highly encouraged, and wonderful, well-known certifications are available. I will not name them; they are very well known, and we should encourage our new talent to go and sharpen their expertise under this domain.
Thank you, Majad, for this is a great insight. This is all from my side, and I personally have learned great from from all of these wonderful professionals over here. I've learned a lot in today's session, but the key takeaway for me, take home point is soft skills with the technology. That's something which I have not focused, but that really makes sense, a lot of sense. So wonderful points. Thank you very much. Over to you, Aksa.
Thank you very much, and I completely second your opinion on that. That we often take the technical skills and really focus. There's a hard focus on just the technicality and just the technical knowledge itself. But I think it's very important. Ji Zulfikar sir, I think you've got something to add on here.
Yeah, just to add on to this last comment, one of the professor of the, that's again from the academia, by the way. So one of the professor of the Stanford University tried to find out the reason of success. So he wanted to know what he should tell the students, what ingredients of the success is, what's the factory that they inject into. So he actually made up a survey and inquired from almost throughout the world of his students, his past students, his alumni. He came up with a result, shocking result, right? For example, he came up that the technical side that we are talking about all over the world, the technical side for which the students are dying into for CGPA, for technical learning, reading of goods, the technical aspect is only 15% of the success. Only 15%, 1-5. And the rest of the 85% is basically how good you are in tackling with people, how good you are in communication, how good you are in presentation skills, how good you are in team building, in managing team, how good you are in crucial times, how good you are in dividing the bigger tasks into smaller teams and handle the people so that those individual tasks reach to its entirety, and then the final task reaches up to the final conclusion destination. So that 85% is basically the success factor is the soft skills, right? So 15% is only technical ability. Like, so for example, many of the person has already said that we want only soft skills ability from a graduate, and then rest of the technical abilities, we get them out in a initial 1-year training, right? So here at FAST, we are also adopting the same attitude to give them the soft skill as much as we can.
Absolutely. And I think this also, someone had talked about even diplomacy, because when you're running this big change management program within your organization, or trying to, and this applies to, I think, both parties that are sitting here, whether it's the academia side or the industry, you have to bring in, as Gibran Sahab rightly said, that, he forced the education side to really, let him in and make use of the knowledge that he had to share. And I think that's why sometimes all of us need to make that shove and push is required from multiple areas. Like Dr. Zunaira said, that why do people expect, or the industry expects, that the academia is going to come out? Maybe it's the other way around. If they are lacking a particular skill, or if that's a particular gap area that they've identified, maybe it's time they step up to the challenge. Ji Gibran Sahab.
And I would say diplomacy, it's in everything, right?
Yeah.
I mean, in all your relationships, especially all of you who are married, I mean, you would totally back me up on this one. You need so much diplomacy, and sometimes that's all that you need, because it's easy for Mazad Sabs or somebody in his staff to say, "Here's the new cybersecurity policy." Everybody is gonna, not go to these websites, or in cybersecurity, it's always bad news, right? It's like we're restricting people. We're saying no. And that's not a good thing, right? And we don't want to be the villainous character in an organization where we say, "Oh, you can't do that, you can't do that." But if you explain it with the diplomacy, here is why. I'll give you one example. And I appreciate that leader a lot for my company. So we used to go do like a year after year the security awareness training. And I would be giving training, and there would be people in the audience like dozing off on their phones. So this one year, he had this brilliant idea. He said, "How about I'll get people in the room and let them ask you any question for their home security." So people started asking me questions about how to secure their home routers, how Wi-Fi networks, and then their computer security. And then when I explained them this, they were like, "Oh, now I understand why I shouldn't visit these websites. I'm never going to download cracks for these software. I'm never going to go for free anything at corporate." So I think all of those things are pretty important. And I think, Dr. Karzab, if you have that stat somewhere, I would love to take that link, that 85%. But yeah, all of these things are very, very relevant and practical.
Over to you, Mazad sir. Everybody's been quoting your diplomacy skills, so let's hear it from you.
Just Zulfikar Sahab, he reminded me of my first job interview. I just want to share with you, where I was shocked, once I met the employer, his direct, straightforward question to me was, "Why should I hire you? And please tell me in 1 minute how you can sell yourself to me, because I have this much of budget and you are me for like a product. Tell me and impress me in 1 minute what is your sale value, and without having experience, how can I still, take interest into me? And to be honest, I was not ready for this answer, because this type of, I think, session should happen. I will highly request in universities. We make great technical people, but these type of soft skills and this type of readiness, I think it is still requiring some more tuning, so that, because I might be very good technical guy, but I might not be very good in the beginning to go and talk and present in a very effective way. So that polishing is really required, so that the actual talent should not be refused just because of his presentation layer. So we all need to work, in the OSI layer, there's a presentation layer, but here I'm talking about another, the human presentation layer.
Layer
that
8
needs to be improved.
Yep. No, and I'll tell you, there is going to be, I don't think there's ever a position like that, but I think Azad Saab said in one of his points that you have to be able to convert business into tech and tech into business. I say, a lot of the stakeholders who are actually paying the bills for cybersecurity projects, they don't understand the zeros and ones, right? So if you're not able to explain it to them, they would actually always feel that their investment is wasted. So if you have people who can actually enunciate and, explain the concepts of, the learnings that came out from that project to a C-level people. I always say to my folks that if you can't explain this technical concept to your mom, I think we're lacking somewhere. So still keep working at it. Next generation, we may not be there because everybody will be at some point. But right now, this statement is pretty relevant. So I try that when I have to explain something. I try to ask my parents, "Do you understand it?" And if they say no, I'm like, "Okay, back to the drawing board."
I like that strategy a lot. Actually, I think we should apply it in multiple areas. Zulfikar Sab, yeah, you wanted to add something here?
Yeah, just the last few minutes, one or two saying just to end it up. Right. For example, usually I tell my students, say for example, computer science basically it started like, for example, 3 decades or a 4 decade or a 5 decades, that maximum, right? Okay, into the business, into the commercial businesses. But businesses are there since centuries. So I usually tell my students that, you see, there are businesses who are running without tech. So if you want to hunt those new businesses, those businesses which are still far behind than tech, then you need to present yourself in a way so that those businesses who are running even without tech can hire you to push their business onto tech. So tech is basically there to scale up their business. So you need to present your tech in a way so that those people who have started their business without even tech, they understand it, why they need it. So that's it. Thank you.
Absolutely agreed. And I'd like to add on here that, even cybersecurity has always been looked at as something outside of the business domain. And that's probably the biggest problem that we have as an industry, that it's not seen as part of the business, or how I think in the last 2 years, all of us have seen that, when we're talking about business continuity, there's little or nothing that we can do without these certain protocols. Dr. Zanera, sorry, you had your hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to mention a point which Mr. Gibran have already mentioned. Because I think it is very important to have a selling mindset and have soft skills, and you can sell your products. But the problem is the people in academia do not have selling mindset. They have educational mindset. They impart education, and they work in a different frame of mind. They don't have those skills to sell the products. They do not treat students as their products. So they just impart education, and obviously education sector is already considered as a sector in which salaries are very low, and only people who have passion for education, passion for teaching survive here. And most of the people which universities also intend to hire are the people who have passion for teaching and they feel happy after teaching. So they do not have selling mindset. So that's why they do not impart this kind of skill in students. So this can only be added if industry meet the students more frequently and tell them this is what we are going to need or we are going to expect from you after you complete your education. So I think putting the responsibility of developing this mindset on teachers who are already not having this mindset, it won't be justice. That's all for my.
Can I just say one thing? My objective was to not. I was
Sorry,
not
आपकी आवाज बहुत
expecting-
आहिस्ता आ रही है, sir.
It's okay. So I was not
Better.
expecting like the very like the computer science PhD doctor will tell them how to sell yourself. What I'm expecting, part of the curriculum, the university should arrange lectures or put some curriculum which is mostly being taught in the MBA, in the marketing, strategy. These type of 1 or 2 courses should be added, should be taught by those teachers who are non-technical but actually social science specialists, so that we can improve their skills, not only technical but also the management skill with the help of such collaboration available already within the universities, because universities, they have different departments, so they can collaborate. So not only technical domains but other domains should be also invited to improve their curriculum.
One thing which came up and is not addressed, I think so, is that experience versus the skill set. And again, we talked about the importance of experience, but actually, I think that there was a comment that if someone is not experienced, you cannot trust him with the security. I think it with the progressing speed of cyber security, I think skill set is very important, and experience. It depends on and I believe that experience is, of course, it's important, but the newcomers come up with the skill sets. If they're trained properly, they come up with a skill set which can cover the experience. So I think that they are being hired internationally. There's a shortage of cybersecurity professionals. One report says that there are a global shortage of 3 million cybersecurity and digital forensic professionals in the world. So, so these people who are coming up, so it means that we don't have experienced people. So we have to trust them, and that's why they have to be trained. The degree programs have to be rearranged, and we waste a lot of time in teaching subjects which should have been taught in inter and metric. For example, Pakistan studies or Arabic language, or they should have been taught in inter when they were doing their inter education or their school education. Or if we want to teach them Islamic studies, yes, they should have been taught it in for example, in their school days and their after school days education. So when they come to when they start their 4-year degree program, almost 1 year goes in teaching them the fundamentals, which they have already studied in schools. And so this shows the seriousness of HSE in developing the degree program. One. Secondly, the seriousness of cybersecurity. We have a national hackathon going on. The first round went, and it took 1 week for capture the flag results to be announced. 1 week, and then for the second round, they have to give a written exam to capture the flag. What type of seriousness we have from the government? So I think the government and HEC should collaborate with the industry and understand the need of the cybersecurity and with academia, and develop and take all the stakeholders to develop a proper cybersecurity policy. And education is one of them. So these are my last comments. I took this opportunity to, on this forum, to mention them.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. If there are any closing comments, we'll take them now.
I wish there had someone from HEC as well. I would have loved to see.
Yes.
Anyways.
Anyone for any closing comment before we wrap up? All right. So I'll quickly just summarize. Did I? Sorry. Go ahead.
I have one last comment. I don't know why my this point is not well taken, but if you are using any brand from any other country, for example, in US or developed in some India or somewhere, you have to believe that the operating system or the stuff that they are using is secure. Mostly the certification teaches how to configure the stuff. It doesn't help us in understanding the deep level of the algorithms that are working inside. So please, I again emphasize that we should work on a product level, a software level of our own, rather than going outrightly to the developed countries and taking their product. So that is my again my suggestion. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. And I completely agree. Cyber workforce is not, it doesn't just mean that we pick up skills and we pick up things that are happening globally and, just have teams equipped to run those products, tools and resources, but also development of that. So not just development of the cyber workforce itself, but development of local products, of course. I still feel like that's a long way to go because we're still sort of, getting the grip of cybersecurity and really roping that in. Ji Mehzad Saab, you wanted to add something here?
Just last comment, I think someone rightly mentioned, we are talking a lot and a lot of good discussion, but the regulator is missing.
Yeah.
All of our academia, they can do excellent job, but there should be a stick, there should be some dictation. And if the regulator is not convinced, all of our thoughts, they will remain in the air. So I highly recommend next time, maybe we need to start involving regulator. And even in case of regulator, with all due respect, I don't see typically cybersecurity is being mixed with IT. Cybersecurity is a totally different mindset. It's a complete different mindset and expertise. I even propose in one of the InfoSec conference in front of ministry, maybe someone took it negatively or was offended, but I said, better we should have a separate ministry just to handle cybersecurity, because it is such a critical and serious topic that a typical IT guy, can't handle this. And same thing, if it is a regulator like HSE, I expect there should be actually a PhD level guy just in cybersecurity and talking about cybersecurity curriculum and what should be taught. And we should not expect a simple guy from IT, mindset telling university about cybersecurity. So if this will not happen at the highest level, yes, we will keep on having such a wonderful discussion, but the impact will not be as we are, demanding. So that needs to be improved. Thank you.
I completely second Mehzad. That's why I said that we must be having a HEC guy in this forum, maybe from next time, because
Absolutely.
that will put the things in perfect perspective.
Absolutely. So in fact, one of the things I'd like to mention here quickly was that yesterday we had a session with the policy side. So, we had multiple regulators because a lot of these industries, so whether it's SECP and others, so all of them are sort of developing. But the challenge even within those regulators remains that all of them are working in their own silos, and there's very little discussion on, okay, if the state bank has, for example, developed something and they've been able to establish that over the last few years, SECP can literally just use that as a playbook and perhaps, expand on it according to the industries that they're regulating. So similarly for the academia side as well, that's an important point to take home, that it's not just going to be the job of any one of these. Dr. Sunaina.
Yes, I just want to add that we have, as a closing comment, I would say that we have talked about having a cybersecurity framework And that framework will be a guide for having an integrated educational framework. That educational framework will be incomplete if we do not involve regulatory bodies, if we do not involve industry, academia, governments. So we are doing a good discussions, and we have raised a number of points as well, but we need to, I think, have a group of people who will be developing that framework. We need to work towards that. And I just want to thank you as well by putting us all together in this forum to have a very great discussion. This is very important. And I think I have highlighted the gap between industry and academia and what are the possible ways in which we can fill this gap. All agreed that there is a lack of skill set, lack of resources, but we need to work together. And when we'll be working together, it will not only be for ourselves, but it will be for Pakistan.
Absolutely. And with this, my closing thought would just be that, people from the academia sitting here rightly pointed out that, while the academia is doing what it can under its own regulation or under its own guidelines that they've been provided, employers also have potentially a very large role to play in reducing this current shortage that all of us face. Because at the end of the day, whether it's the vendor side or whether it's the industry side, it needs to be carefully considered when we're designing a cybersecurity workforce development policy. And that's something that, Pakistan has had its first national level cybersecurity policy, which comes under Ignite's work. And as some of you mentioned, they've actively been going around the country. We do understand that there's a lot of feedback that all of us have to share with them. And we have actually, yesterday we had Dr. Rafi with us, and he was very receptive to a lot of the constructive feedback that he had received. And that's some hope, for all of us who are working in this industry. Nonetheless, of course, there are three factors, and for students to enter academic pathways, when we're talking about that, I think they need to be able to see what the journey or what the roadmap looks like. And I think all of you, the work that you're doing within your own departments, within your organizations, and even at a larger level, just goes to show that there's a lot of work in terms of giving back being done, whether it's Systems Limited, I know, has also designed a program where they are going to universities and talking to multiple universities about curriculum design. And then there are others on working on knowledge and skills, and that that link that all of us need to drive together. So with this, I think I'd just like to thank all of you for joining in, for sharing your insights, and for doing the work that all of you are doing in your own capacities. So thank you very much. And this is it from our side. Thank you to our partners once again, and to all our wonderful panelists. Thank you for making the time, especially on a Saturday. And Jibran Sahab, you get a special mention here for joining us from the US at this odd hour, but thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aksa. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.